Under wraps.
Oh, it's still under wraps. Does that mean that we actually have to record it for that podcast instead of this podcast? I don't know how this works.
Well, I suppose you'll have to work it out as the producer and editor of the show.
Yes, indeed.
Hi.
Okay, levels, rattly case.
Classic
Yeah,
rattly case.
rattly case.
Yeah.
The bad old days.
So many classic things about this packaging, in that it has cellophane on it, and it is rattly, and it has the old classification logos on it.
We get to record an opening.
Colin had a problem and a microphone to spare. Thomas took it up, and so the podcast went to air. For weeks and months they trolled through every single DVD. They've unwrapped all the ones they can, and now they're cellulose free. Now they're cellulose free.
Hello, dear listener, and welcome to Cellulose Free. My name is Colin, and with me, as always, is my fellow film watcher, compadre and son, Thomas.
Hi, hello.
What have you been up to?
I went into council and I told them what for, and then I sat down and felt shaky for like a few minutes afterwards.
So you made a deputation.
I did.
Which is different to a question.
Yes. So a public question is something that should be short.
Yes.
Not make too much in the way of an opinion.
Yep.
And has a response element involved.
Yes.
Whereas a deputation can be somewhat longer and does not warrant a response.
So just disappears into the void.
Yes.
Into the historical record that nobody looks at and nobody remembers.
In the minutes several years from now, someone will be confused as to what reflections on respect has to do with anything that was in that particular agenda.
Indeed.
Which is to say, nothing, really.
I must admit that I watched the delayed rebroadcast of it, and the turning of the heads of all the members of council, and then turning back and right on with it.
Yeah.
And you sort of,
This is how it goes.
good, okay.
Yeah. Once the public input segments are done with, there's...
Yeah. But one does wonder exactly what impact it has.
Yeah.
So,
Dunno.
but you did your bit.
Unlike a deputation on an actual item on display during that particular meeting,
Yes.
there's no way to work out any sort of tangible effect.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if you make a deputation about something that's at issue during the meeting, you know immediately if you've got what you want or not. Well, not immediately. Sometimes it can take hours, but you'll know that night.
Yes. Yes. Speaking of knowing things that night,
Yeah.
what else have you been up to?
Pretty sure nothing else that I can talk about.
Oh, there's some hush-hush stuff. Right. The CIA, ASIO, a witness protection or two.
Before giving the deputation, I'd had like a stomach bug of some sort, and that took me out. And then after that, sort of the weird continuous blood rush.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Is it happening now?
Sort of a little.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
All right, then.
Yeah.
Well, shall I tell you?
Probably something to do with the heat.
Yes. It is another warmish day, so I went for a swim today. Took advantage of the wonderful weather. The only problem is that the beach that I chose to swim at, which is an absolutely gorgeous little beach, that you can run the length of in about 3 seconds. It's a very small beach, but you can't run to it in 3 seconds. It takes about half an hour to walk to it from the nearest bus stop. And half an hour back, so which completely negates the relief from the merciless hot sun. But it was good. It was good whilst it lasted. One of the weird features of this beach is it has quite substantial rock formations, really on both sides, but on one side in particular, just a buttress of rock, and the waves tend to hit it at a certain angle, the same waves that come straight into the beach, but the waves that hit the rock then bounce off at a right angle. So you're swimming away and you get buffeted by the waves coming in from offshore, but then you also get a few seconds later a wave coming at you from the side. And it's a great little beach. Did a plasma donation yesterday, and that was fun. I rocked up to the blood bank just in time to see and hear 2 fire engines arrive with lights blazing and sirens screaming, and then smaller fire vehicles and police cars. And they all sort of manoeuvred themselves up to the top car park, which is the car park for the blood bank. And I thought, right, okay, am I going to get to donate today? Which is doubly scary because the building that they're in is a fairly new building, but built behind the facade of a lot older building that burnt down 10, 15 years ago.
Short enough ago that I can remember it having happened.
Yes.
But long enough ago that it's murky.
Yeah. It had one of my favourite stores in it, actually, and caused millions of dollars of damage, and they ended up having to remove the building but kept the historical facade. So I think the property is jinxed. But it turned out to... Apparently, when I decided, right, it doesn't look like anybody's come rushing out of the building, so either it's a false alarm or it's not connected with the blood bank after all. So I went in and checked in and mentioned it at the desk and said, yes, we heard the sirens. Apparently there was a gas leak downstairs.
Right.
But everything's under control. So I filled in my paperwork.
Ding, 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 ding.
Not quite. Keep in mind that there are people with needles in their arms strapped to machines at this point. And I'm waiting for you get interviewed each week because there's a bunch of questions that you have to fill in and then discuss just to make sure that everything's fine.
Has your cat scratched you? Oh, I guess better not then.
Yeah. Well, I had a bunch of blisters on my hand.
Ooh.
Yeah, but because I was donating plasma, that's not so much a drama as if I was just giving straight blood. But waiting for my interview, and then a strange alarm goes off, and nobody seems to know what to do about it. And it turns out that it was an alarm that nobody else has heard in the building. They've certainly had plenty of fire drills with the whoop, whoop, whoop type alarm, but this was a different alarm entirely. But somebody finally decided, right, well, the fire brigade is still out the back. Maybe we should evacuate. So we all evacuated, including those who were halfway through donating plasma, and then got the all clear to go back in and donated plasma. So that was it. Anything else? Oh, it's raining.
Yeah.
Possibly a little bit of hail in there as well. We might even have a thunderstorm.
Conditions are probably right for it.
Yeah, let's have a thunderstorm as well. Oh, during editing of last week's episode, I got so frustrated because there are key sequences that I'm constantly repeating. The trim, the select, and the delete.
Yeah.
Trim, select, delete. Trim, select, delete. The problem is that the keys that do that are almost an entire length of a keyboard away.
Yep.
So your hand is jumping back and forth, jumping back, forth, back, forth, back, forth. So I thought, look, there's got to be an easier solution to this. And I thought, maybe I need a macro keyboard, a little mini one that I can set macros into. And found some options, but all of them from various reports have really poor software to program them. So I decided I'll get a gaming mouse with a lot of buttons on it and try that. And so I went and bought one after I'd edited last week's episode and managed to get it to do what I wanted it to do, but realising that now everything is concentrated in my right hand. Whereas I had no problems with my left hand doing selections of things. So this week's episode is going to be a trial of that. However, I did, in another random search after I'd bought this new gaming mouse. It was a cheapo one. It wasn't anything special. But I found someone on Reddit who had faced the same problems with these macro keyboards that are pretty neat hardware-wise, but the software's woeful. So he went and disassembled the code that he got for it, and it was an absolute mess, he said, and reverse engineered the code and created his own and stuck it on GitHub. So I thought, oh, do I or don't I? And then because I've been looking at them on eBay kicked in one of those automatic, oh, we'll sell it to you for less.
Yeah.
So I thought, oh, okay, I'll do that. That's on its way, and I'll get that set up. And I strongly suspect that is going to be the better way of doing things. It will just mean that rather than my left hand flying from one end of a keyboard to another, I can just keep my hand in one spot and just tap away whilst my mouse is doing what it's used to doing. Anyway, that's the level of excitement that this week has brung. So we shall move on. We have a film to watch.
We do.
And I'm not entirely sure whether I'm up to it.
I'm
not sure whether I can handle the truth. What are we watching this week?
We are watching the 1992 film A Few Good Men.
Starring Tom Cruise and
Jack Nicholson.
Why can I never remember Jack's first name? It's short. It's simple. There's some weather happening out there.
There is some weather happening out there.
All right. Would you give us a plot synopsis between gales and hailings and lightnings? And
I will attempt to do so.
Okay.
Tom Cruise, Jack Nicholson and Demi Moore star in Rob Reiner's unanimously acclaimed drama about the dangerous difference between following orders and following one's conscience. Cruise stars as a brash Navy lawyer who's teamed with a gung-ho litigator in a politically explosive murder case. Charged with defending two Marines accused of killing a fellow soldier, they are confronted with complex issues of loyalty and honour, including its most sacred code and its most formidable warrior. And then there's some self-congratulatory stuff.
Speaking of self-congratulatory stuff...
Yeah.
Who did you say directed this?
Rob Reiner.
Who directed last week's film, Princess Bride?
Might have been Rob Reiner.
I've got this horrible sneaking suspicion.
I'm going to look it up now. Because this is going to hang over the podcast if I don't.
It is. And it's going to be horrible to edit because there's going to be silences in the background and then noisinesses in the background. And cats and dogs living together in mass hysteria.
Yeah.
We're watching two Rob Reiners in a row.
We are.
Wow. Huh.
However, they are not both William Goldman.
No, they are not. Sorry, this is based on a book?
Stupid tall text.
Oh, I gotta love tall text. Didn't it say in your self-congratulatory?
Yes. No, it doesn't say it in there. It's an Aaron Sorkin.
Oh, you mentioned that last week.
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
Gee, we've got good memories. All right.
His name is misspelt in the tall text.
Oh, seriously?
Sorkin with no I.
Right. We have a flashback to the dark old days where physical media was used and it was wrapped in cellophane or cellulose. This film is not cellulose-free.
And indeed, neither are my two next films.
No. So we get to experience that amazing experience of hearing the cellulose being torn off the case.
Assuming it is not drowned out by weather.
Yes.
Oh, that's gone very well. I'm out of practice.
That's gone poorly.
See, in some ways I'm sort of glad that this stopped being a regular feature of our podcast. Because it's not actually fun. Yes, I could only find it on DVD. And it's a rather old DVD at that.
Yeah.
It's been
hand-scribed with a man with a laser gun. Zap, 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 zap.
Sitting on the shelves of the JB in Hobart for however long.
So, we're going to watch A Few Good Men, and then we shall come back and talk about it. So we shall catch you on the flip side.
Turn to side B.
You can't handle side B.
I think I can probably handle side B.
You mongrel. So what did you think?
First of all, I'd like to correct the record.
Yes.
I said that we weren't watching a second William Goldman film in a row, but of course William Goldman did an uncredited rewrite on A Few Good Men, so...
Oh, okay. Wow.
Yeah.
It's a tangled web.
Yeah.
The other thing that I did note, and I still feel guilty, but I think, offered it a number of times, and it has just been another thing to add to your list of things that you should watch. But West Wing, also Aaron Sorkin.
There's a lot of it, and I do want to get to it at some point.
Yeah. If I was stuck on a desert island and I only had one TV series that I could have with me whilst I was stuck on that desert island, it would probably be West Wing.
Wow.
Yeah, it is just really, really solidly well written, and it has every emotion you can imagine. And it is comedic, it is deep drama, and heart-wrenching. It's just superb. But there is a character in The West Wing that had a bit part in this film, A Few Good Men as well, that threw me just briefly. I think, I know that face. Oh my goodness. So there, we have more connections there. So what did you think?
I enjoyed it. It was good. Difficult to say much more beyond that, to be honest. It's one of those.
It is one of those. I have a real love-hate relationship with courtroom dramas. Mm-hmm. And this is very much a courtroom drama. Everything, even though the courtroom really only happens in the last half of the film, so the last hour, and everything before that is very important. But it is a courtroom drama, and yeah, love-hate relationship. But I think it is a case of that feeling of you are just being completely manipulated emotionally. And I guess it's a lot like the underdog sports movies as well, where you have to have, oh dear, it's looking like they're going to lose. And even though you know that this is how these things work, that you are just being set up to be emotionally torn apart by it, it doesn't help that you suddenly find yourself just totally engrossed and just waiting for some hope and some chance, even though you know that it is going to all end out well.
Yeah.
Which it did for the most part. It was, I guess, clever in that respect, that there were different casualties all through the innocence was lost in this on so many different levels. I did. I loved it. Even though I do still find Jack Nicholson to be a most unpleasant man. He plays most unpleasant men. Yeah. So much so that when he doesn't, he still comes off as the most unpleasant man. Which I don't understand.
Yeah, and he's playing a real piece of work in this one.
He really is.
Tom Cruise displays range.
Yes. I dislike him for different reasons, but played the role very, very well. And I found it amusing. There's a number of parallels in Edge of Tomorrow and A Few Good Men as far as the character that he plays.
The hotshot who can do no wrong but has never seen a courtroom/battlefield.
Yes.
And gets thrown in at the deep end and proves everyone wrong eventually.
Yep. And turns over new leaf type of deal and becomes a better person or drags the goodness from within himself. I'm distracted. My forehead is dripping and during the movie we did have a full-on thunderstorm and the deranged cat is a little distressed. Oh, he seems to have settled down a bit.
Which was followed by a full-on film thunderstorm.
Yeah. We had surround sound. Even though we were just running from the two speakers of the television, we suddenly got full immersion sound with interior rain sounds on the screen and within the house itself.
We could have gone for 5.1, but the amplifier is hot. It produces heat.
In the grand scheme of things, yes, it does, but I don't think it would have added much to the scenario here.
I think my temperature tolerance has declined somewhat over the years.
Great ensemble cast. It was solid. There was certainly a level of dimensionality, even the lesser characters, where you saw conflict within them as well. The lawyer for the government was Kevin Bacon, wasn't it? I think it was Kevin Bacon. I have a Kevin Bacon number.
Yes, it was Kevin Bacon.
Yes, I have a Kevin Bacon number via Essie Davis. So there we go. Do you have anything else you wish to say about this film?
No, it was good.
Yeah. I don't think I was quite prepared for the number of furry words that echoed through the house amongst the thunder and lightning.
Well, again, Jack Nicholson played a real piece of work.
He did play a real piece of work, yes. All right, then. Well, if you have nothing else to say, and I have nothing else to say, we shall move on.
The following segment has no title. Thank you.
We will start over on Discord with Entuosferatu,
Hello, Entuosferatu.
who says, "Glad you didn't melt."
We're still melting.
We turned off the aircon and the fan after finishing watching the film, and we're like, it won't need to go back on afterwards, will it? No.
Yeah,
And now I'm sweating away.
Yeah.
It's terrible.
Yeah.
There's not much to say about The Princess Bride, I suppose, except that it has a lot of qualities that I describe to bad movies. Cheesy plot and dialogue. Look at all the settings my Casio keyboard has music. A modern-day framing story, but it all just works.
It should not work.
No.
You're absolutely right. It is cheesy to the hilt. And that can be just so absolutely risky. But they pulled it off in spades.
Yeah.
They really did. Interestingly,
Yeah.
I believe Entuosferatu
Yes.
is currently located in the state of Washington,
Right.
according to a previous comment regarding spiders
Right.
from a previous episode. It's one of the few states in the US that I've spent any amount of time in during a somewhat aborted attempt at going to a convention, but instead went to Mopop, Museum of Pop Culture, which is in Seattle. Well worth a visit if you happen to be in Seattle, especially right at the moment. They've got a big display on Laker, the animation. I just happened to see what's currently running there at the moment. But they also have a couple of the swords from Princess Bride and the glove of the six-fingered man.
Right.
Amongst all of the memorabilia in there. So if you do happen to be a fan of Princess Bride, even if you're not, there's plenty more in that place to spend hours at, just with your jaw dropping, because I had no idea that that's where I'd be ending up because something had been cancelled. I should also point out that the museum was closed a couple of days after we visited.
Yep. You were failing to attend a convention. I was failing to produce podcast episodes. The world was failing to contain a pandemic.
Yeah. Well, some would argue that I landed right into the middle of the major hotspot of the US.
Yeah.
Just in time. So, as an aside, if you haven't been there, Entuosferatu, well worth a visit.
Entuosferatu continues, because there's more.
There is more.
I want to say the only other thing I've seen Mandy Patinkin in is Dead Like Me, which oddly enough also has a lot of prepare to die, but can you do it again and give me a little more sad but inevitable with a base of compassion?
Yes. What else have I seen him in? Criminal Minds? I think he's in Criminal Minds. I say I have seen him in that. I have not watched Criminal Minds much, but Wendy has.
Yes.
My wife is obsessed with shows where she can learn how to kill me without anybody working it out.
Well, very few people working it out.
Yes, that's right. I would know.
Hello, my name is Inigo Montoya. You killed my father. Prepare to die.
Hang on. You're planning to kill your mother?
I was going for sad but inevitable with a base of compassion.
Okay, good.
And another comment from another person on the Loading Ready Run Discord. It's cheesy, but it's earnest cheese with charismatic people in every role.
Yes. Yeah, they could not have pulled it off otherwise.
Over the week...
Oh, hang on. I didn't even say hi, BV310.
Don't know if he listens to the podcast. It's a public Discord.
but,
Conversation will strike up from wherever.
Look, I appreciate that, but just on the slim off chance. Hi, BV310.
Great.
Good.
Meanwhile, over on Twitter, we received some fan art
We did receive some fan art.
from Angel,
Hi, Angel.
who decided to make an animatic of a scene from some time ago.
Some many moons ago. We've been immortalised in animatic form.
Yeah, that was the end of our episode on Big Hero 6 on August 11th of 2022.
Which threw me for a loop when I watched the animatic, thinking, hang on, that's our voices. What are we talking about? But I'm glad that such a dialogue has been immortalised in animatic form, especially considering that for a couple of frames I morph into a very sad creature,
Yeah,
as is my wont.
you know, just to lay down some ground rules for anyone who's listening, we do appreciate input. Just try not to be too weird or creepy.
Yeah, don't be weird or creepy.
Most of the people who listen to this show, because there are several who we don't know about, most of the people...
Yes,
who
I'm
listen
looking at you, whoever you are.
Most of the people who listen to this show, I am not friends with, and this is not a social interaction. This is purely parasocial. Just don't make it creepy or weird,
Yeah.
and it'll be fine.
It'll be fine.
If you are friends with me, you can make it a little weird. But
But not me. If you're friends with me, don't make it
No.
weird.
no,
No.
no.
Or I'll turn into a sad hamster.
Don't scare off Colin.
No.
That's all you got to do. You know, I know how certain communities that I'm in can get. Just don't scare off this guy. Let's see here. I really should have gone back and listened to the part of the episode that M
Hi, Em.
is referring to
Hi, Em.
in this particular response. But she says, I'd agree that the year hiatus doesn't really matter. Tweet word limits wouldn't have let me be that specific either way.
Mm-hmm.
And The Princess Bride will be added to my semi-long list of media I haven't seen but should.
Yes. Now, this is not the first person who mentions the fact that we have a whole generation here, apparently, who has not seen The Princess Bride.
Yeah. Over on YouTube, Dunkel
Hi, Dunkel.
says, okay, back to being the first like, normalcy. It turned out Princess Bride wasn't on our streaming services, and I don't yet own it. I'll maybe get it next time in the DVD section of wherever.
Yeah, I hope wherever has it.
Yeah. I did watch the first couple episodes of The Bear Ender, though.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't. I have heard mixed thoughts.
We have watched 4 episodes or 3? I don't know. And they're damned if they do, damned if they don't.
Mm-hmm.
And I will reserve complete judgment until the end of the season. But
If you don't make any changes, then it's unnecessary.
yeah,
And if you make bad changes, then it's bad.
yeah. Possibly the main struggles that I'm having with it is that some of the dialogue is really bad.
Mm-hmm.
But that's tempered by the fact that if that same dialogue was delivered by an animated character, it possibly wouldn't be as bad. So I don't know whether they have just pulled dialogue straight from... I think we're a lot more forgiving of simplistic dialogue. when it's delivered by animated characters. And that's a very broad statement and not making any excuse for it. But there is certainly some dialogue that would have got a pass in the animated series. But when you actually see an actual human's lips delivering those lines, it is less passable if it is bad dialogue. I'm not trying to defend it, but I guess playing devil's advocate. But yeah, some of the dialogue feels really, really bad. I think it is incredibly admirable that they have actually cast a young boy to actually be a young boy in this. And for most of the time, he does an incredibly good job. But for the other little bit, he just doesn't have the experience to pull off expressions that are really... This is the flip side. There are certain facial expressions that you can completely exaggerate and fall in love with in an animated series that when you try to pull off in live action, it's very difficult. And that is possibly what's missing. The exaggerations of expression is part of what makes the animated show really, really wonderful. And you just can't do that. And finally, some of the effects are just really average. And I don't know whether they're... Sometimes you get the feeling that the backgrounds are done in a certain style to, I guess, replicate some of the backgrounds in the animated... I don't know what their thinking was, but some of it just looks completely unconvincing. If you're going to do a live action, then the world around you should be completely convincing, not you being on a background. And it is constantly you are feeling like this is all in front of a green screen, which it is, or against the, what do they call it? The volume. And I still haven't decided what they're actually using here. I don't think it's the volume. I think there is a very definite solid set that then has a replacement background in there. So I suspect it is green screen, but it is constantly not completely convincing and uncanny valley kind of stuff. But yeah, I'm still trying to give it the full season. I'm not yet in the camp that says, oh, they shouldn't have done this, but we'll see where that goes.
Which will bring us to the guesses.
Indeed.
For last week's file name. So, we had all 4 people who directly contributed sent in a guess. 2 of them, Entosferatu and Dunkel, went with P-Bride.
P-B-R-I-D-E.
Which is incorrect.
It is, unfortunately.
Angel went with Pre-Brie.
I like that.
P-R-I-B-R-I. Which is also incorrect.
Yes, I sort of gave that away, didn't I?
And M.
Finally, M.
Went with Punkbrud. P-N-C-B-R-D.
Which is incorrect.
Yeah, it's also incorrect.
So, before I give away what I selected, I would like to point out that I do not consciously select a file number to trip you up.
No.
It is very much on the fly, and it's a bit like when someone tells you, right, I don't want you to think about elephants. And so you instantly think of elephants. Okay. I like to think that I go in thinking that I just want to pick what I would pick, not I want to pick something that is going to trick you all.
Yeah.
So, and that was the case, well, hopefully it's the case all the time, but I chose PRNCSS, princess. Again, no vowels. That does tend to be a bit of a theme, but not always. I try to go with what... Keeping in mind that I actually type it in by a spinning dial on my recording device. So I rotate a little wheel that flicks through all the letters and numbers, until I get to and then enter it, and it moves across one, and then I zoom around. So I can't explain my thinking.
The virtual producer in my head is telling us to wrap this up because
Yes.
we're under a time crunch.
We need to wrap things up, so we shall move on.
Pick a film for next week so we can go to bed. It's your turn.
It is my turn, and I believe this is a film that you haven't watched.
Uh-huh.
So I'm going to be kind to you.
Yeah.
I'm going to actually tell you who's in it.
Mm-hmm.
So you're not allowed to type this in.
Uh-huh.
Okay. Sean Connery.
Yeah.
It is not a James Bond film.
Well, I've seen all the James Bond
Yes.
films, so...
And it is not Hunt for Red October.
Well, I've seen Hunt for Red October.
You have. So, here we go. This is the plot synopsis. Io, Jupiter's innermost moon, hosts mining colony Con-Am 27, a high-tech hellhole. There, Marshal William T. O'Neill probes some mysterious deaths among the miners. In pursuit of the truth, he can't handle the truth. In pursuit of the truth, he's alone. Do you know what it is?
Not a clue.
Not a clue. We are watching the 1981 science fiction western Outland.
Right.
We hope that you can join us, but until then, we'll catch you next time.
Bye.
You have been listening to Cellulose Free. Your hosts were Colin, who produces and edits the show, and Thomas, who makes the artwork and music. Cellulose Free is recorded in the Deranged Cat Studios in scenic Tasmania, Australia. We keep track of our extensive physical media collection through My Movies, which we highly recommend. You can find links to that, as well as other places you can find us in the show notes. Cellulose Free is a Hi Hello production.
Now I'm lost looking up something. Why am I looking up something?
I don't know, is that worse? Because sometimes I'll intend to look up something and then not even get as far as getting halfway through.
Oh, the rabbit hole. I'm doing the rabbit hole here.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. Right. Yes.
I got to the bottom and found nothing.
I did. I found nothing.
Oh, dear.
I was indecisive there, but now I'm not so sure.